James Parker had always been the kind of man who wore his heart on his sleeve. He wasn't the quiet, stoic type of father you sometimes see in movies. He was expressive, loud in his joy, and unashamed to show how much his family meant to him. To me, his wife, and to our children, Emily and Michael, that was both endearing and, at times, a little overwhelming. But mostly it was beautiful. His excitement for life was contagious, and when he looked forward to something, the whole house seemed to buzz with his energy. One of the moments that stands out most vividly in my memory happened when Emily was accepted into the college of her dreams. She had worked so hard, staying up late to study, balancing school with her part-time job, and pouring herself into applications. The day the acceptance letter arrived, James came home from work just as Emily ripped open the envelope at the kitchen table. "I got in," she screamed, her eyes filling with tears. Before I could even process it, James had swept her into his arms, spinning her around in the kitchen, laughing and crying all at once. "That's my girl," he shouted, his voice shaking. "Harvard. Can you believe it? My daughter is going to Harvard." Emily laughed through her tears, embarrassed but glowing. "Dad, stop, you're making it a bigger deal than it is." But we all knew it was a big deal. For James, it wasn't just about Emily going to an Ivy League school. It was about everything he had worked for, every sacrifice he had made to give his children opportunities he never had. He had grown up in a small town in Ohio, the son of a factory worker and a homemaker, and though his parents had loved him deeply, they hadn't had the means to give him what he dreamed of. He had worked his way up from a mechanic's apprentice to owning his own auto shop in town, all while making sure Emily and Michael never lacked the support they needed. "James," I said gently as he finally set Emily down, "let's not scare the neighbors with all the cheering." He grinned at me, wiping his eyes. "Let them hear. Let the whole world know my daughter did this." That was James. When he was proud, when he was excited, everyone knew it. Michael, our younger son, often teased his father for being so emotional. "Dad, you cry at every little thing," he'd say, rolling his eyes. But I knew he loved it too. Because when Michael hit his first home run in Little League, James was the dad who jumped over the fence, clapping and shouting, "That's my boy." He was the dad who took a week off work just to drive cross-country with Michael to visit colleges, singing along with the radio and sharing stories about his own youth. The truth was, James's excitement wasn't just about big milestones. It was about the little things too. When spring came, and the flowers in our front yard started to bloom, he'd call me outside, saying, "Sarah, look at this. Can you believe how beautiful this is?" When Emily baked cookies for the first time without burning them, he acted like she had won an award. When Michael fixed the lawnmower by himself, James told everyone at church the next Sunday. But the biggest excitement I ever saw in him came when Emily's graduation day arrived. That morning, he woke up at dawn, pacing around the kitchen in his suit, fussing over his tie. "Do you think she'll see us from the stage?" he asked me for the 10th time. "Should we sit closer? I want her to know we're right there." I smiled at him, shaking my head. "James, relax. Emily knows you're her #1 fan." At the ceremony, when Emily's name was called, James shot up from his seat, clapping so loudly people around us turned their heads. His face glowed with pride and tears streamed down his cheeks. Later, when Emily walked toward us in her cap and gown, James couldn't contain himself. He hugged her so tight she squealed. "Dad, I can't breathe." He kissed the top of her head and whispered, "I've been waiting for this moment my whole life." Emily smiled, but later that evening, when we were alone, she said to me softly, "Mom, Dad's so excited about me all the time. I feel like I can't live up to it sometimes." I took her hand and squeezed it. "Honey, don't you see? He's not excited because he expects you to be perfect. He's excited because he loves you, because every step you take makes him grateful to be your dad." That's the thing about James. His excitement was never about himself. It was about us. When Michael finally got into the college of his choice, James reacted the same way he had for Emily, hooting and hollering and calling all his friends to share the news. When Michael scored his first internship, James told the entire neighborhood. His joy was pure, selfless, and rooted in love. But life, of course, isn't always filled with victories. There were moments of heartbreak too, times when things didn't go as planned. When Emily struggled her first year at college, calling home in tears because the pressure felt unbearable, James's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his worry. "You can do this, baby girl," he told her over the phone. "You're stronger than you know. And even if you fall, we'll be right here to catch you." When Michael broke his leg in a skiing accident, James sat by his bedside in the hospital, cracking jokes, bringing him milkshakes, and making sure his son knew he was still the same boy he'd always been, broken leg or not. James's excitement wasn't just about success. It was about being alive, about sharing every moment, good or bad, together. Years later, when Emily walked down the aisle on her wedding day, James looked like he might burst with emotion. As he took her arm and led her toward the altar, he whispered, "This is the happiest day of my life, Em. You're so beautiful. I can't believe I get to be the man who calls himself your father." During the father-daughter dance, tears rolled down his cheeks, and Emily laughed, saying, "Dad, you promised you wouldn't cry today." He chuckled through the tears. "I never promised that. You should know better." And when Michael called us one Christmas Eve to say he had been offered his dream job in California, James hooped so loudly that I thought the neighbors might complain. "That's my son. Look at you, making your old man proud." He was excited, yes, but there was also a glimmer of sadness in his eyes as he realized both of our children were growing up, moving forward, building their own lives. One evening, long after the kids had moved out, James and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. He held my hand and said, "Sarah, I've had the most exciting life. Not because of cars or money or travel, but because of you and the kids. Every single thing they did, every little milestone, it was like a firework going off inside me. I'll never stop being excited about being their dad." I squeezed his hand, tears in my eyes. "And they'll never stop being grateful to have a father who loved them so openly." Now, when Emily brings her own daughter to visit, I see the same spark in James's eyes. He lifts our granddaughter high into the air, laughing like a young man again, his voice filled with the same excitement he's carried his whole life. And I know this is his legacy. Not just love, but love that is expressed fully, loudly, joyfully. Love that never hides. Because that's who James is. A father who was always so excited, not for himself, but for his family. And that excitement, that unshakable joy in us, is the greatest gift he's ever given.